Tell you what, I get a lot more likes on Instagram for pictures of the podcast than I do for the actual podcast.
And with that shocking thing, I noticed your Instagram is looking pretty fantabulous with people going, yeah, and thumbs up emojis all around.
Woo!
So, yeah. Everyone lives an Instagram post. And everyone, welcome to the Failcast F1. Thank you so much for joining the birthday taco / everyone's dying edition, because we've both got colds. So apologies if we both sound like we're dying. But alongside me is the birthday man himself, Mr. Ben. How you doing, mate?
Buenos dias. It is indeed my 32nd birthday, I'm told. That's flown by. Literally flown by. If anyone knows what I did between 2003 and now, it'd be great to have some cliff notes. As it is my birthday, today's on-stream beverage.
Ooh.
It's a cheeky little beer. I'm drinking and driving again. And this has normally served me quite well because although we're not supposed to drink and drive, every time I do drink, I end up on the front row of the grid.
I remember, yeah.
And I've drunk twice on stream now, and both times I've nearly got pole. I better drink a sip now, so it's got time to work its magic. Hold on.
Cool. I'm going to crack open my cider for you then. Cheers.
Oh, excellent. We're having a birthday drink together, mate. Across, hands across the channel.
Yes. Preach.
Yeah, and hopefully the beer does its magic, because I have had 2 DNFs. My worst start to the season ever. Oh, that's a... Yeah, sounds like you're pouring a good head on that, mate. Well,
you know me in good head. We're 5 seconds in before the first filth has been laid. Yeah, it's been a bit of a torrid time, hasn't it? It's but they've not necessarily been your fault.
No, not outright. I mean, actually, I take that back, because Bahrain was my fault, because I came back onto the track into the path of another car.
Ah, yes.
So that was a bit stupid of me, to be fair. But I felt I had good pace there, actually. So hopefully that extends here. I've got what I'm told is a really good setup. I've been experimenting with setup, and it's very, very, very similar to one I saw being banded around on one of the websites, and people there were raving about it, saying, "Oh, it's amazing! It's an incredible setup for China." Ooh. But I still can't get it to work, so I don't know what I'm doing. What else has been going on though is I've just come back from the Berlin Kite Festival.
Wow, soaring high.
Yeah, I mean, not much to say really. It's a field. It's full of kites.
What demographic does that bring?
Everybody, mostly people with kids, but like everybody. I've never seen the place that busy. It's at the old airport. That's where they host Formula E as well.
Okay.
But the reason I'm bringing it up is before we dive in, I want to tell you about the food stands I saw there. Because normally, like, you get your burger and your hot dog and everything, right? Pizza maybe at a push, but you don't see pizza stands very often, actually. But I saw some amazing food stands today. One was Mexican street food, kind of normal. Then next to it was an Argentinian steak sandwich place. Then further down, I saw a garlic bread stand.
What? Garlic bread? I know.
Bread? Garlic bread. And I saw a fresh pasta stand.
Nice.
And there was one place that was selling gnocchi. And there was one that was it was selling basically like they would like toast a piece of bread and then just completely douse it in melted cheese. And people were walking around with basically a block of melted cheese. So yeah, it was a fun, family-friendly day out. Except it was windy as balls, which is kind of good for a kite festival. And now I've got like an unintended windswept surfer look going on with my hair.
You can do there we go. That will boost your Instagram followers.
Oh, I should actually. I'll tell you what. Why don't you let me very shallowly take an in-stream beer selfie? Hold on. Let's see how crappy and wankery we can be in one stream.
Hashtag totes. That sounds quite good. I've never heard of a garlic bread stall That is
No.
a wonder that needs to take off.
And it smelled incredible, mate. Truly amazing. It was like wafting over the field, and I was so hungry, so hungry. But I'm saving myself because I'm having this evening. I'm having pasta fried with chicken sausage.
Ooh, nice.
This beer is phenomenal. I've gone for balanced tyres, but I can't remember if that was a good idea or not. I remember having tyre troubles here.
I normally do multiple stops around here because of how wankered that I get my tyres to be. But I think for a 50% race that will work okay. But over 100%, it always means that I do one. I'm a through stopper, not a two.
I actually thought you were about to say because of how wankered you get.
That as well.
So I have to stop quite a few times because I just get wankered and lose all the wins.
Dragged myself into the garage. I'm just running through my setup on screen just in case people ever want it. Although it's a near direct copy from someone off of f1carsetup.com. I think this
The
one is.
go-to toolbox. God,
It
I'm
is.
handsome today. The light is just doing me favours. Grr, tiger. So, quite a bit of F1 news. There's some that we failed to cover last time because it was just a bit of a jam-packed show that, in our usual way, kind of ping-ponged between concepts and ideas. But we do have quite a lot to discuss. Did you want to touch on Singapore before we move on with news, or do we start with news and come to Singapore?
I think quite a lot of the news kind of bears out from Singapore, so it might be that we can weave in some Singaporean stories as we trot along, because the actual race itself was, apart from Force India and Sirotkin, dull as fuck. But there was bits and bobs going on, but it was one of the lesser exciting races of recent memory, in my personal opinion.
Going into that weekend, I'd seen somewhere, someone had teased me and got me all excited for nothing. Because I'd seen that apparently it was going to be heavy rain in Singapore for the race and possibly qualifying. Then, did it rain? Did it balls? And I was really looking forward to that because I really enjoyed Wet Singapore last year.
Oh, it was amazing to watch.
And then I ended up missing qualifying because I had a social engagement and other people are annoying. And then I ended up sitting down to watch the race, and I got through to, I think, about lap 13, and then the F1 streaming service completely collapsed upon itself. There was like an event horizon around it. There was like a singularity of Formula One where no Formula One coverage could escape. And so not only me, but many, many, many thousands of people around the world could not watch the race live. And then by then, the internet ruins the race for you, because no matter how hard you try and avoid reading about stuff, it's all over your Facebook and Twitter and so on. And I follow all the teams because we do the podcast. And so, in the end, I was like, well, I could go back and watch it, but I kind of feel like I've seen it now.
And you've not actually had a race actually go to plan on that service yet, have you?
No, I wouldn't say I had. I mean, I've had some that have been watchable. There's been like maybe a drop or two. Magnussen, no, you've ruined my lap.
I've ruined mine myself. Hello, Toast, in the chat. You might be smothered in cheese if you go to Germany.
Hey, that's the best kind of toast. Please don't send any pictures of yourself smothered with cheese. Anyway, I felt like, I saw like the incident at the start with Ocon and Perez, and I saw that was, a lot of people were divided in opinion about what the deal was there. I kind of felt that people were way too hard on Perez. I think it's quite easy in the heat of a race around a tight circuit for something like that to happen.
Especially when you've got the Haas cutting the corner on the inside and you're not quite sure where he's coming back on.
Exactly. And it was just strange to see people completely tearing Perez apart. And I think maybe it's a sign of just how much sympathy there is out there for someone like Ocon at the moment, who, for very unfair reasons, is probably going to find himself without a drive next year. But I think, that's a very separate issue to what happened with him and Perez on the track. I mean, it was really bad news for Racing Point Formula Stroll India, who have now implemented team orders for the remainder of the season. They're not allowed to race each other anymore.
Yeah.
That's that lap bollocks as well. Thanks, Raikkonen. You are the worst.
Yeah, and that was really interesting because I don't think they needed to necessarily stick in team orders over something like that. Perez did seem to just have a "I've lost all my shit" race with everything that he'd done there, and I wonder if how much of that is to do with the almost like a fallout of the stuff that he's had to do to keep that team on the rails, and actually it was just a boiling over of frustration because they're having to start again. They know that they've got an amazing car. I know you want to touch upon that with their updates.
I do, very much.
So he instantly feels like he's buggered up the team stuff. So then he tries extra hard to try and make things better later on. Sorokin driving a blinder, even though I've seen loads of people just going, "Why is he even bothering? He shouldn't be there." I'm like, well, you're not a racing driver if you don't defend. And no. Considering all of this year where everyone who's not in the top six just goes, "After you, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull," and doesn't even bother to fight it, it was delightful to see a Benoldi-esque drive. So hats off to all of that for me.
I agree.
That's me off my soapbox. And I got to say Benoldi. But
God bless you, Enrique.
Yes, the very first Red Bull driver. Yeah, so it was for me really, really interesting that that it all kind of gone horribly wrong. And as you picked up in the news, Renault are cacking in their pants because they think Force India could well come and get them by the end.
Yeah, I mean, the statement really came from Carlos Sainz, who I presume was speaking not just for himself but the internal feeling in the team, because apparently the upgrade package on that Force India is superb and was working quite well. You didn't really get to see it at full stretch because of the unpleasantness of which we've just spoken. But I have to say, like, I saw some, I think it could have been F1 Racing posted some close-ups of the new parts, and I have to say they do look fantastic. And you know, that team just continue to astonish me. You know those children's toys you get that are for punching, but they always stand back up again?
Yeah.
They're like one of those. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything keeps going slightly wrong for them, or a little bit off the rails, but somehow they manage to maintain the quality of car development and overall pace. It's just staggering to me. They're also hiring again. There's a lot of open positions at that team. If anyone listening has ever wanted to work in Formula One, now's your time. Because apparently they're recruiting in all departments, which seems to suggest Big Daddy Stroll is opening the trust fund. Presumably because his son's going to be there.
Yeah.
Now, you and I have touched on this in the last 2 episodes. We've been talking about it for a month now, but I still haven't got a satisfactory answer.
Okay.
Why, in the name of all that is beardy and holy and adorned with sandals, why isn't Ocon just going to Williams as a straight swap for Stroll? Why is there complication?
I don't actually know. It seems like such a obvious choice, doesn't it? Because Williams, it should be, you would think, him and Ocon and Sorokin for next year. But it doesn't seem to be that way, because Sorokin can bring the money. He's got the decent enough speed to have a good reference point, I think, then, for Ocon as well as himself. So they should be fine and okay. I don't get what the problem is. Unless Williams are holding out for some kind of sweetener, technically.
I mean, yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe they're holding on for some kind of icing on the cake. But it just seems very odd to me. And also, there's a possibility, I suppose, that Kubica has in his contract, like he's locked in for a race seat should it become available prior to the finish of the season.
Which I wouldn't mind if Ocon is then back in there for next year, because I'd quite like to see that happen, just to silence. I get that we all want like a nice happy ending, but there's something in me that now wants it to go a bit Tim Burton-esque, just to shut up everyone on the internet.
Well, I mean, even if Kubica comes back and isn't good, I don't think those people are going to be satisfied that it's him. That's the problem.
That is true. You're right.
I mean, because Williams are getting a kicking no matter what they do right now. There's very few people I'm aware of who have any sympathy for them at all, and I really don't know why. I mean, they're doing the best they can in very shitty circumstances.
Their saviour is that they've been a bit more humble about it than McLaren, because McLaren continue to walk around going, well, we'll bet points, and Stoffel Van Dorn continues to lie in amazing terms out of his anus. And because Williams are a bit more just like, yeah, we're shit, and just like that's it. You kind of go, oh, okay, and just kind of take it at face value.
Yeah, you sort of ruffle their hair and go, oh, you scamps.
And they were
it's true,
nearly a second off of everyone else in qualifying at Singapore. That's how bad it was.
That was embarrassing, wasn't it? 1.4 seconds off the next car at Singapore. I mean, that really shows where the car's weak, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they were much closer in the race because they went for harder tyres and kept up with everyone and stuff like that. So clearly the car is much better in race trim than quali, but that was gross. Welcome, Hazy33. Good to have you, sir. Hope you are well.
For me, I'm kind of keen to see how they build up from this, because as I've said before, there's quite a lot of people in the world of F1 tech who say that they can't really figure out what... I mean, they know the Williams is bad, but they can't really figure out why, because when they look at it, it looks like a tidy package. It looks like it should work.
Because there was loads of optimism pre-season, wasn't it? Because I was like, yes, it looks aggressive. Yes, the side pod undercuts look like they could be really, really great. But, I don't know, maybe the front wing... where it becomes much more simpler next year might help them out a little bit. Although, having looked at... do you follow the Scar F1 guy?
Yes.
I was watching him be talked at by Peter Windsor, which is always good comedy, because Peter doesn't actually listen to anything that Craig Scarborough says. He just talks over the top, and then Craig just has to kind of keep up with him. What he was saying was that everyone's kind of already stopped working on their front wings now because it's not going to carry over, and they've all started working on their underfloor, so that will be where things will kind of go for next year, which I thought was quite interesting. Maybe that might save people like McLaren and Williams a little bit, maybe. Don't know, clutch at straws.
Possibly. I mean, we can only hope, right? I just I would like to see them improve. What's interesting is they're supposed to be considering putting George Russell in the car.
Ooh.
And I'm excited by that idea, but what I don't understand is why that involves, like, this whole Mercedes junior driver situation is a real mess, isn't it? It's a real mess.
They're having the problem that Ferrari had a couple of years ago and Red Bull had a couple of years ago, aren't they? Everyone's all at once.
Well, I mean, I'd still say Red Bull do have that problem, given that next year, if rumours are to be believed, both their junior team drivers are considerably older than their primary team drivers. I mean, that shows how topsy-turvy on its head this season has been, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll come to that. So I'm excited to see George Russell there, and I think having a British driver at Williams is always exciting. But it does involve putting Ocon on the scrap heap for a year, and I just can't figure out why they would rush Russell in, no matter how well he's doing, when Ocon is such a proven entity and he's a free agent.
It feels like the wrong way to go. It should be Ocon in there, not Russell. Unless, and again this is clutching at straws, they've already said sit on the sidelines, you'll have a Mercedes seat in 2020 because Bottas is not playing at the level that he should be.
I keep being very up and down about Bottas. I really do. Because I was defending him at the start of the year. And towards the end of last year, I started to think he looks confident now. He looks like a Mercedes driver. And I was kind of hopeful that he'd start turning the wick up a bit. But we're over halfway through the season now, and he hasn't got a win this year. And he's never truly looked that threatening. He's had like 1 or 2 standout drives, but I mean, it was my opinion anyway that Mercedes committed to him for next year far too early in this season, far too early. They had all the cards in their hand.
Yeah, especially when he's only got weaker, in my opinion, and Ocon has only got stronger. That should have been a swapsy straight away. And you know that Bottas would have just gone back to Williams anyway, but it would have still been an interesting... I feel like it doesn't matter if Bottas does good now. He's already shown that he can't cut it at the top.
Somewhat. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, because I always get the feeling that walking to Mercedes is a poison chalice anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of like walking to Ferrari. I have made up all my time to pole basically through Sector 3, which I'm killing for some reason. 8/10 faster than the nearest person in Sector 3.
You had, when I looked on your telemetry, you are the fastest in the speed traps, so clearly whatever wings you've got is working.
Yeah, it's quite rare actually that I run with lower downforce, because since 2015's game, I've always found that my race pace is way faster with high downforce, but...
Just went straight off.
Can I go on board with you?
I've just fucked up turn 1, so I'm not going fast. Hazy's just put in the chat, actually, and this is an interesting question. Do you think for a team's sake it's better to have one clearly better driver?
Do you know, it is an excellent question, because instinctually I've always said no. But I think history proves me wrong a little bit, because, you know, Schumacher having an Irvine or a Barrichello does tend to generate much more positive results across seasons than having a Hamilton and a Rosberg situation, I think, or a Webber-Vettel situation. So I think there is an argument for it, but I've always kind of wondered why it's been the prevailing decision. And there's a fine line to walk as well, right? Because you want a number 2 driver who can still pick it up and be your number 1 driver if attrition or accidents takes the other guy out.
Yeah.
But you still kind of want him to be far enough behind that he really does sort of fit into that role of sort of tail gunner, I suppose. It's very hard, but for me, I'd always like to think I'd take, rather than like a driver that's clearly better than the other, I think it's kind of good to mix youth and experience.
I agree with that. If both are fight fast, you might end up in a Williams situation, I think, where they both lost championships due to fighting over points. Also, if both are fast and halfway through, the team give out team orders. I know team orders are legal, but I think it destroys the excitement halfway through the season. Well, I guess if you're hiring someone who's not as good as the other one, you've kind of instigated your team order without really knowing. Oh, wow! 8/10 faster than everyone else!
Yeah, and that's all in Sector 3.
Why has Stoffel Van Dorn got a 5-place grid drop? Oh, he collided with Charles Leclerc. Amazing.
Kimi Räikkönen, why was he on softs? Why do people run softs in Q1? It's because they've taken the hardest tyre selection.
Yeah.
That's why, but...
Okay. No, sorry.
Who's out?
Hartley.
The Williams, Alfa Romeo... on to Q2.
The usual suspects. Räikkönen only just through. I thought it's because they called it a Red Bull Toro Rosso. I keep looking at Red Bull and thinking, fuck, someone's out. But they're not.
Well, yeah, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on that, to be honest. because I kind of agree that I do hate the team orders kind of thing, because I always felt bad for people like Webber, or not that Rosberg was really on the receiving end very often, but I did feel bad for Rosberg as well. This kind of, you can't really, you get the feeling you can't see what they can really do because they have to.
Yeah.
But then again, I always prefer drivers that are willing to put the success of the team above their own personal success to some degree, because I think that's the ultimately most pragmatic solution.
I'd like to have... So, I'm of the opinion that you should have two drivers that are quite evenly matched where possible. But that they work together for the team's benefit. So, if there is a team order that's going on, I agree with that whole pragmatic approach, because ultimately their positions are going to be where you... we're both doing the alternate on the softs. I just saw you pull out.
Yeah, well, we've got the pace for it, haven't we, I think?
I think so. You have. I'm not sure about Luke, but yeah, I do think that that should be good. But then I think that team orders should work both ways. A bit like when they used to do... was it Red Bull done it, and I think McLaren might have done it recently as well, where they would let one go to have a go at the other one, and if it didn't work they'd have to let them back through again. That kind of works for me.
See, I disagree with you on that, because that really is contrived, isn't it? And by the time you have to switch them back again, there's nothing to say that the guy who was previously in front has the pace to realistically be in that upper position. What I mean by that is maybe the guy you allowed to pass has to slow down significantly to change places again, to the point that it's really detrimental to overall race pace.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think where... So there's different scenarios where I think I would be like, just let him through. And that would be on tyre compound strategy. So if like strategies are meeting, but they're meeting at a weird time. So say if someone's on like comes out right behind someone at the end of their at the start of their final stints, and the driver in front is on like the softs, and then someone else is on like the ultra softs, and there's clearly going to be like a half-second gap, then I'd just say don't hold him up.
Oh yeah, that I've always been in favour of, because that is where you have to play the team game as a driver, right? You have to.
Yeah. But
you have
like
to say, okay, fair enough.
If it was towards the end of a stint, like with about 3 or 4 laps to go, and they'd both been playing with the tyres and the other, then that's not really where I'd want to step in, because that should be technically where all of the strategies meet at the end anyway, so they should be left to battle them out for the ultimate victor.
Why am I getting traffic on all my laps?
They know you're too fast. It's them sending birthday congratulations, that's what it is.
Yeah, possibly.
Oh,
I wish they wouldn't. I wish
Yeah.
they'd bugger off. It's Magnussen again. Magnussen.
Oh,
I don't want to hate you, Magnussen. I love you so much.
That scallywag.
I know. With his cheeky Dane beard and his kissable balls.
Dem balls, though.
Speaking of Haas and their kissable balls, they have come out. They've been the latest team to come out in opposition to 3-car teams, which you and I are famously also dead set against, for probably quite different reasons. They claim it will distort the championship, which has actually been one of my arguments previously as well. Which is, instead of the top 4 positions being permanently locked out, you're going to be locking out the top 6 positions at least.
Yeah, or 9 if Red Bull can crown. Yeah. No, agree.
And I still don't know why this story keeps coming up again and again about the 3-car teams. I know there is a provision in the Concord Agreement that teams have to provide a third car if the grid drops below 10 teams.
It's below 16 cars.
Oh, sorry, I stand corrected. But it just doesn't seem likely that's going to happen. I don't know why this keeps coming up. Maybe it's just Mercedes and Ferrari pushing for it. But I don't know why on earth they think the other teams would agree on it. And then, to be honest, any move at this point that allows those two entities to cement their grip on the sport any tighter than it already is, I'm going to be dead set against.
No, I completely agree. I think this is symptomatic of people on social media, knee-jerk reaction. Ocon's not got a seat next year. If there were 3-car teams, he would be in a Mercedes. So that's where I think this whole heat has come from. Because then it would be a Raikkonen could stay at Ferrari because you've got that crowd. And then who would you stick in a Red Bull? I don't know. Well, you'd keep
Marko
Ricciardo
at this stage.
Yeah, that I'd like to see. But yeah, so you'd have that, and then Renault could stick in a French person. Yeah, but then I've also seen elsewhere that actually it would only be the top teams that would run a third team. So then you kind of think, well, why would you then allow that to happen and have only like 10th place to currently score points? So yeah, it's utter bollocks, the entire thing, in my opinion.
It is really stupid, and I'm glad that F1 are starting to talk about this problem they have now of subordinate teams. I saw Ross Brawn is starting to get quite concerned about how tight a grip the two biggest teams are starting to have on the whole grid politically and in terms of providing parts and infrastructure. Like it's really bad for the sport. It's super bad. You are ahead of me, sir, by a fraction of a tenth.
Oh wow!
I'm concerned that maybe we don't get through.
Okay. I've not seen the times just yet, but you are about half a second off the back of Bottas in fourth. Daniel Ricciardo is about a tenth behind us on the ultras, but he's only done one lap. And then still to put in, like, we've got Vettel behind us on the softs. He's on a 1:36.096, but I think he'll pit and go again. So that'll push us down, I imagine. Hulkenberg hasn't set a time yet. He's kind of around your time at the minute, sector-wise. I think we're going to be all right, you know. Because we're ahead
I wish I shared your optimism. There's 7 minutes left in the session. The track will evolve in that time, won't it?
It will. I'm going to be brave.
I'll tell you what, I'll see where Hulkenberg comes out now. Why have only... Oh, that's right, 5 cars have been eliminated. Duh, dickhead. How am I managing to co-host an F1 podcast? I don't even understand how the qualification system works.
Love it.
Hulkenberg's gone 9th.
Yet so still giving out more wisdom than most of YouTube chat.
Oh, by the way, just in case you missed it from Jeffers, if we do make it through to Q3, go out immediately on the Ultrasofts because rain's forecast.
Ooh, juice. Lovely stuff. A couple more comments that have come in whilst we were discussing all of that. Hosey, team orders were made legal when Jean Todt became president, ex of Ferrari. There's a surprise.
I was going to say, yeah.
How are Haas continuing with pretty much zero sponsorship? Gene has big pockets. A discussion point for us. Literally entitled Discuss. Channel 4 have the highlights package for next year. After that, there's no free-to-air F1. Will this finally kill the dying sport?
I would say it all hinges on what happens with F1 streaming service, but also I'd like to say that I get the feeling that the new owners will eventually insist on putting it back on free-to-air television.
Agreed. Because it was supposed to end this year. And the fact that they've already done you're going to do a highlights package with the British Grand Prix live, to me, already makes them think, we're a bit nervous. Because the figures come out, and it's only like 250,000, 300,000 people that watch Sky for a race, yet a couple of million watch it on free-to-air.
Yeah, it's about an average of 2.2 to 2.4 million watch on free-to-air. I mean, the numbers are just not comparable. they're just not comparable. And it just shows how greedy Bernie was. Actually, I think it really was time for him to go. Unfortunately, he's locked us into this deal till 2021 with Sky. I think.
Yeah. And
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, and I don't particularly have any problems with Sky's coverage. I think it's relatively good, even if it is full of loads of moany men that just will ponder on every single thing about a couple of certain drivers. But actually, the amount of coverage and stuff that they do is really, really good. But you can't get people to pay for that and bring in new blood if you don't have it accessible for people in general.
See, what they really need to do, and I know that they won't, but what they really need to do is commit to doing it in-house. So hire, let's say just wholesale buy up the Channel 4 talent, the guys that are making that, right? Stop having your live stream content that people are paying for have no pre-race build-up. I don't know if you've used the app actually, Simon, but
no,
if you haven't used F1 TV Pro, what happens is you see like footage of the grandstands for about 10 minutes with no commentary or anything.
Nice.
And then it cuts into Sky Sports commentary, but you don't see the same picture feed, so they're talking about stuff you can't see. Prior to the race, and then during the race, it's the world feed, so everyone, it does line up then. But it's such an unreliable platform. And I really miss like the news and the pre-race build-up and the interviews. Like you just get none of that. And I don't know what they're paying Will Buxton for, because all he does is make YouTube videos. And like, why is he not on the F1 TV Pro platform? I just don't get it. Why isn't he doing some pre-race build-up? He's at the Grand Prix. He's at the Grand Prix. What the fuck is he doing? But like, commit to doing that, and then have a two-tier system, right? F1 TV Pro that you pay for is. You watch it live in the app, and you can jump between the cars, and you've got all the different world commentary teams to switch between, so on and so forth, right? Exactly like you've got now, except better. And then you have a free-to-air version, so the day after the race, put at least highlights up, free to watch,
right,
for people. So like a short highlight coverage. Because whether it's pay-to-watch TV or paywall coverage of Formula One, you're never going to get the reach you'll have with free. And I still kind of understand the need or the benefits to having a paid version, but I think it'll do the sport a lot more good to have more eyes on it and get the sponsorship money coming back into the sport than it will to try and squeeze all the existing fans for extra money here and there. Like people like you and me, I mean, speaking for myself at least, I'm always going to pay for that F1 TV service as long as it moves forward from where it is now. I mean, if it was the same next year, I'd just cancel it. But the actual fans, the established fans who are serious enough to pay that money anyway, they're always going to pay for it. Make it better and you may hoover up a few more people, but it's not a huge audience. It's just your core audience. And if you want that wider appeal to the more casual fan, that really bulks up your viewer numbers, and that's what gets the sponsors interested.
Completely agree.
So I really think the new Concord agreement that they have to negotiate in 2021, I think it is, I think that will return the provision that it has to be free to air in certain markets. Because it doesn't help teams, it doesn't help the sport, it doesn't help anybody, really. I don't think it even helps Sky. Because how much they paid to get that exclusive deal, and looking at the viewing figures, I can't imagine that they're really making that money back.
No, it feels a bit weird that they aren't able to really do stuff. Ricciardo's lap didn't improve, so he's behind us no matter what. I think we're safe.
Sweet.
Because when I look at that, I just think, how can you be paying all of that multiple £1 million to what is quite an extensive crew of people that go out and do the broadcasting, plus the pre-race, the post-race, then the little mini half-hour programs that they do here and there, and they're not going to be on shoestring budgets.
No, they're not.
And it's not just that as well. So not only have you got Will Buxton, you've got that woman that does the pre-race stuff, whose name I forgot. She pops up in Formula 2.
She's paying for herself, isn't she? Name you forgot. Go on.
I've forgotten what. It's because Rosanna. That's it. Because in F2 it's like they've been paid to say you have to go down to Rosanna in a pit at least 3 times in a race, but they really can't be bothered, so they have to pick like the most annoying things, and then she'll say something like, "There's a car on the track, back to you," and it's like the most pointless stuff I've ever heard. Other pit people do it, so at least they have something to say, but because no one comes into the pits in Formula 2 unless it's in a feature race and you see it all there, she has nothing to say, so it's quite funny. And then you've got, hey, it's Case, JC or Casey, I can't remember what it is. JC, because Casey is Karoon. And it's the guy, Clarkson, that does the Beyond the Grids, which I have to say I'm absolutely loving. But he doesn't do anything else either. Does he?
You mean Tom Clarkson, right?
TC, that's it. I was thinking traction control. That's why.
Do you know, I never really liked his work on BBC, to be honest. I didn't. He seemed a bit annoying.
He is a bit smug, in his weird way, but he works better in a long form podcast. But I do feel like he's trying to steer the conversation way too much than what the person actually may want to say or tell, and they won't want to tell a different story, but he's not necessarily letting them. Right, I'm going straight out, as you say.
Yeah, it's already raining.
Ooh, juice.
Come on, let me out! Jesus Christ!
Excuse me.
They're not letting me out.
It's because they were trying. I wonder if they knew that I was coming out. But if you'd pressed the button first, you should have gone first.
Yeah. And now I'm going to have to... I don't think we're both going to get a fast lap here before the track degenerates.
I think we'll be alright.
We both got held in the pits for the car behind, who's an arsehole.
Well,
Your car, do you have the pit limiter on?
No.
Your car is making a noise for me like the pit limiter is on.
Ooh. Interesting. Hello, Zhao.
I really don't like us being so close together on qualifying, so I'm going to slow down a little bit and not hopefully let whoever that Ferrari is behind me catch.
Well, I'm catching the Renault up ahead.
Because traffic here really kills me.
This whole thing could go horribly wrong. I've noticed with this new update, the versions 1.06 and 1.07 to this game, the game seems to have a bit more pop-in for me, where it loads the low-res textures much longer. I really
wanted them to get rid of that problem with this version of the game, because it's been in the game now for a few years.
Find the corner, Simon. Find the corner. Yeah, I'm unimpressed with it, because when I play with the McLaren, they've patched in McLaren.com on the top of the halo, but it comes in completely pixelated for about the first 20 seconds, and then it suddenly just goes, this is the font we were looking for, sir.
And not hashtag Team Bahrain, which has been on all over the cars recently.
Oh.
Right, you have to watch back my coverage, because you're not going to believe me, but your car is like going all the way around the corners like it's got the pit limiter on.
Superb.
It sounds like you're an alien. The grip's falling away, isn't it?
It is really treacherous.
We're only going to get one shot at this. And I think I've already gone slower than I could be going. It's like a B movie. Your car sounds ridiculous.
Ooh, that's deep. I think I'm going to give you a bit of a toe. Not a camel. Oh. Now, I am slightly worried that we're going to end up crashing into each other down at there.
Yeah, I'm faster than you on the straight. I don't like being this close together.
Shit!
I still get pole.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh, that has to be the best line cross ever.
I was so worried with you behind me. I took an early line and then that didn't work because there was grass.
Oh, you have to watch that back from my perspective. I shit my pants. You owe me some jeans.
Oh dear.
God, that must have been a hell of a lap for me to be able to like do that and still come out on top. But I am a fan of the greasier condition.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, they are going
Smooth.
slower behind because Hamilton's only 6th, Ricciardo's 9th, Sainz, who I'd call, is 8th. So, yeah, you I tell you what, drinking and driving, you've got yourself another front row.
Pays off again. And this could be my first official Failcast 1 pole position.
Yeah. I think it will be, you know.
On my birthday, no less. What are the odds of that?
See,
DNF in the race.
I was going to say, Chimpy said you're going to join the illustrious elite.
So I suppose now that tense moment is over, we can get back to the Formula 1 news.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit, if I may, about the situation with Red Bull, Toro Rosso, their drivers, and the catastrophe that is the Toro Rosso lineup next year, which, if rumours are to be believed, will see Daniel Kvyat return to the seat.
I can't believe
who
that.
is now being managed by son of Jean Todt, Nicholas Todt. And he's still in the Ferrari ecosystem. Now, what do we make of that? Because surely, like every driver on the grid would have to be abducted by aliens before Daniel Kvyat ends up in a Ferrari seat.
Surely.
So I don't know what's going on. Like, this silly season gets sillier and sillier, and I can't make head and tail of it. I really can't.
Like, I get that he's young and that people should be deserving of a second chance, but he's had more chances than I've had hot dinners, and I just don't. He clearly can't hack it at the front. He was doing okay in the midfield, but if they're putting him in the car, then they're not putting anyone else alongside him to reevaluate either that new person or Kvyat himself. Because if it's Hartley, they've already said that he should be on a scrap heap, so that's become a pointless task in itself. If it's Pascal Wehrlein, he's a known quantity, so therefore he's not a Red Bull driver, so that's stupid, and it's Mercedes, so that doesn't make sense. Who are they going to?
The rumour still keeps boomeranging back that Pascal Wehrlein's going up in that car, and I still say no. He's on the F1 scrap heap. He'll never be in F1. That's it. He's done. Because Mercedes have made it pretty clear that they prefer Ocon anyway. Force India preferred Ocon. Manor preferred Ocon. It's just pretty clear to me that he's not coming back. He actually wasn't he fired by Mercedes?
I don't know. He's not doing particularly fantastic in DTM either.
Let me fact check myself here, since I can't go out again.
I'm going to go out again.
Because I'm sure I read, Wehrlein parts ways with Mercedes.
Oh, cool.
Announced 14th of September 2018.
Oh, it now says my tyres are unsuitable. Damn you.
Curses. Right, I want to see how good that lap was.
I was purple
Bloody
sector
hell.
1. Damn it.
You were faster than me in the first sector, absolutely.
But second sector, you had my legs, and clearly you were kicking it in the third. Nicely done.
Look at the state of that. 140.5. Where was this pace in career mode?
Maybe it only works when slippery when wet. Hazy says happy birthday.
Although, to be honest, I've got a feeling it's going to knacker my tyres. That's my theory. And I could have been faster because I went round the back of your rotating car. That's a shame, man. We could have been really close to each other.
Well, and you're starting on pole on the softs as well, so that's perfect strategy.
Well, it depends if it's raining.
Oh, let's have a look actually. Oh, it's raining all the race.
So it's completely pointless. Still, so we know it's a...
I've got dry weather set up as well. Bollocks.
It's a moral victory.
I'm not so great in the rain. This could be DNF material.
I'm just hoping I don't get a hat trick of DNFs. 3 DNFs is too many DNFs in a row. Although it would be like, if that happens, I need to get a Failcast fail trophy made for this season. But I mean, what would you make of that? Why are Ferrari still pushing Kvyat? I mean, I thought they would have shipped him off sports cars or something.
Because when you look at other drivers, it's like they had Kamui Kobayashi for a while. What did they do? Put him in GT. For me, Kvyat could suit that kind of driver.
Yeah, exactly.
Type of stuff, because then it's part of a team effort. Then he can feel loved by the team, and then he won't be so suicidal all the time. To me, it makes sense, but who knows?
I thought Formula E could have been good for Kvyat.
Yeah.
Just because it's just demonstrably less corporate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still like a high pressure environment, but it's nowhere near as high pressure as Formula One. And it's a growing sport. It's a place to be for the future, I think. Actually, that's a good segue into something. I don't know if you saw this. This came out in the news before the last episode, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. The FIA and Formula One management have both come out and said that Formula One will never, _ever, go full electric.
Ooh.
Which is something that you and I have been talking about since 2013, right? Because Formula E has made itself the Formula One of electric racing, and when the fossil fuels run out, what was F1 going to do? I'm keen to see now if they start pioneering stuff like hydrogen fuel cell technology.
Oh God.
Because I mean, they have to do something, right?
Yeah, because it's not sustainable. Because when it gets to 2040, and they well, in the UK at least, I think it's by 2040 we're supposed to have all fossil fuel. It's all supposed to be electric only, or something like that in the UK. I can't remember. I can't think of what else there's supposed to be, and there's nothing else I can think of on the horizon that would be a clean energy source, unless they're going to do some kind of water thing.
Well, I mean, you need to do something, right? Because it's predicated to a large extent on manufacturers being willing to spend money, and they're all moving towards electric vehicles. So what is F1 going to offer exactly to keep them willing to spend their R&D and marketing budgets there?
Yeah.
My first ever Failcast F1 podium, and I'm drinking beer. Woo!
Woo! Well done,
Birthday poll. Hold on, let me do a hashtag blessed Lewis Hamilton #1.
Did you thank Almighty God for your 4x4 180 BPM beats and raps?
Exactly. I'd like to thank Dr. Dre for my Beats headphones. I'd like to thank Brill Cream for my hair. I'd like to thank the Chinese fans, the best fans in the world. I always say that. It's my favourite place to come, China. It's incredible. I'd live here, except that I don't. And I just want to say, to all my believers, and particularly God, I know God's very much on my side, I just have to say, cheers. Cheers, God. How was that? Is that good enough to get me into Mercedes now?
I think so. I think Toto is literally nursing a boner right now.
I just need to buy a tiny dog.
and call it something really obnoxious like, I don't know, Knuckles. Frou-frou.
No, something really pretentious like Michelangelo.
Oh, yeah. But
have you seen my teacup pug, Michelangelo?
And it has to go round with a jewel-encrusted beret.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're starting on the intertire.
Leave that safety car exactly where it is, because it's going to be needed.
Yes. Hazy says you need to get some hair plugs.
I'm going to up my fuel load a little bit because I've got a low downforce setup, and the extra weight might do me some good off the line.
I also find with wet weather, because I high rev, I burn fuel much more as well. I can see me still needing to two-stop around this though.
Yeah, me too, possibly. Right, I'm very nervous now because the pressure's on. Shall we begin and go through that part of the podcast where we forget that we're hosting a podcast, and those first 3 laps are super tense, and it's just us going all the way around.
Let's do it. Let's cry. Don't cry for me, China Tina.
Let's open my temperature doodah.
Although it's been a crazy season so far, because obviously we're only 2 races in, but we've already had 17 drivers score points in this, including both Williamses. Both Saubers, I think, have scored as well.
I keep forgetting that it sets my ERS to hot lap.
Oh, so annoying.
I mean, I suppose it's good for off the line, but do you know, we already spoke about Williams, I know, but I'm starting to develop I don't know what it is for me, but when a team really starts to struggle, I just develop this genuine fondness for them.
We love an underdog here at Failcast.
Very, very true. Oh wow, I've gone a bit mad there. I'm like fucking halfway around the track and.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. I was waiting for your dot to appear on my mini map.
Yeah, I was driving it like it was the race for a moment. How are my tyre temps? My brakes are too hot.
Catch you later, Hazy. Thanks for stopping in.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for stopping in.
Yes.
Bye. Love you. Bye.
We've never. I know 2006 was when it got wet at the end at China. Because I was going to say we've never actually seen a fully wet Chinese Grand Prix. I don't think, have we? Because there's a few races where I'd like to actually see it absolutely chuck down. I'd love to see a wet Bahrain race.
Yeah, me too. Actually, particularly because wet sand is slippery as fuck.
Yeah.
But for me, this is the one track I would love to drop from the calendar.
Oh, really?
And it's not that I don't think we should be going to China, I just don't like the circuit.
I cannot, for the love of me, do Paul Ricard. Oh my god. So, I was bitching about this on Twitter earlier on in the week. So, I'm at FP1. I've been quite unwell and very busy with work, so I've not been able to pick up on my career mode. So I dived in and I was like, where is the apex? Where's the apex? Where's the apex? Oh, there's the track. I just can't get it. I've got a setup that feels vaguely okay, but it's I'm having to do little short races of 5 and 10 laps with the AI line on in like full green red, which I never do, so that I can try and relearn where I think that it should make me brake. Very strange.
I was a little slow on the clutch there. No, Vettel.
Oh, bye-bye front wing.
No, not already.
A bit of it anyway.
Hulkenberg went into the back of me. The swine.
I was about to go Hulkenberg, and then I realised that he is actually in third.
He qualified 4th. That rapscallion. Right, I think I'm faster than Vettel. I just need to like not take my wing off trying to get past him. Where are you?
I've got up to 5th. But I do have wing damage. But that's okay.
Are you pitting straight away?
No.
Think you're clever, don't you, Vettel? But you have forgotten that I am the king of the rain.
Unlike Vettel, who continues to make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, throwing away this championship.
Yeah, and I think that's actually been the deciding factor in Charles Leclerc being put there, you know.
Completely agree. Completely agree. I think Ferrari have started to go, oh, he's not the rounded package that we once thought. So
I mean, to be honest, I really thought the Vettel Ferrari thing was going to work out. I really did. Oh shit! I locked my brakes.
But Vettel just seems too hot-headed at the moment.
Yeah, he does.
Oh,
Far too
shit.
hot-headed. No! You're not out of the race, are you?
No. Bottas hit Hulkenberg, who came back onto the track and hit me, so I'm going to need to pit for a front wing. But obviously it was out of the final corner, so...
So you're not losing that much time, at least.
Oh, no, I've got to do the whole lap.
Oh, no! Oh, bollocks.
It's okay.
Well, this is going back in time to those days when never ever could both of us have a good race. It was always like one all or nothing.
I'm refusing to take
Right,
it lying down, though. Know how much. Yeah. And if I can
I'm
hold up
faster
as
than
many...
Vettel, but the AI are so good at defensive driving in this game, or at least so aggressive that I'm terrified of going near them. That I'm not making ballsy moves, particularly because it's wet, and...
I'm playing car ping pong in the hope that it will create a safety car to let me pit. Boxer slap.
that would do me a massive favour.
Oh, fuck off. Jeff. Boxer slap. No! How can you not understand what I'm saying? And just say any old... I fucking hate you, Jeff. It's easier to do it with the... what's my jigs? The D-pad. Right. Hello, pit stop. Here I come.
Which should never be the case, should it?
No.
It's quite a good lap from Vettel, that. Right, we're on lap 3. Not much longer now, and the podcast can resume.
Oh, Gasly's pitting as well. I didn't do anything with him.
Didn't do nothing, Charlie. Didn't do nothing.
But no, completely agree that it's Vettel's lack of
Togetherness.
Yeah, that's the word.
I mean, to be honest, like I understand as well, right? Because Ferrari's problem previously has always been they'd had the driver but not the car, and now they have the car but not the drivers.
Yeah.
And I think they're seriously thinking about having, you know, harnessing the power of the Frenchman to really make a run on the title next year.
Yeah.
And I could actually see a bizarre situation where Vettel is playing second fiddle to him if his form is all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah. For not the first
time. And then Vettel will be out of Ferrari before you know it.
Yeah. And we'll see a wonderful pattern of the Red Bull to Ferrari of... I don't know where he would go, actually, if he's not in a Ferrari. Would he just go?
No, surely not. He'd probably try and engineer his way into some other up-and-coming team, right?
Because Ricciardo's already got Renault covered, so that wouldn't happen. He could go and join Sainz at McLaren, maybe, but then Norris is their long-term effort. Take over from Kimi at Sauber. Everyone go to Sauber. You have a seat at Sauber. You have a seat. It's like Manisha's come back from the dead.
Yeah. Manisha Winfrey. You get a seat. You get a seat. You all get a seat. We have a 15-car team.
Yes.
Speaking of them, I wanted to get onto them. So, first news about Sauber is that apparently the Kimi movie is already having a positive impact at the team, which I think kind of it would, right?
Yeah.
I'm still. Yeah, I mean, for me, I could still see it going one, either way. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a match made in heaven, but there's a certain poetry to ending your career at the team that gave you your first break.
Yep.
Particularly that he's overdriving compared to his baseline performance lately, which hopefully he can carry on and actually deliver some valuable results for them.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that aside from this positive impact, he's apparently not there at Ferrari's behest. This was independently negotiated by Kimi. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with Ferrari. So that means Ferrari technically have, let's call it dibs, for want of a better term, on the second Sauber seat. And obviously Giovinazzi is on the doorstep, ringing the doorbell frantically, trying to get back in.
Yep.
Since he went out to smoke and they changed the locks. And then also, the Merrickson is on the cards. And Frederick Vasseur seems to think that actually Merrickson has done a respectable enough job to keep his seat. He already said that earlier this year.
Yeah.
He just needs to keep it up. Merrickson very helpfully pointed out in the press that prior to Singapore, he'd scored more points than Charles Leclerc in the 5 races preceding that event. And that he feels he's been compared fairly favourably to Leclerc, which I think in the general, throughout the sport, is probably some truth to that. I don't think the average F1 fan has been comparing him favourably. I mean, I know you and I have, to some extent, but...
No. Quality is a bit off, but race pace actually is alright.
Yeah. And so he feels that he's doing enough. He didn't say he's done enough, but he's doing enough to justify having that seat alongside Kimi. The only problem I have with this arrangement, as much as I love the Merrickson and Kimi and Sauber, is that it seems to me that it's not good for the team long term. Because, as much as we love the Merrickson, he's not WDC material.
No.
Sauber is a team that I would rank as very much in the ascendancy. I don't see how they're going to be well served in the long term by having a driver on the cusp of retirement and one that they have no intention of developing into a long-term prospect.
So Raikkonen, yes, I agree with. I find the Merrickson, the longer he's been there, the more he's actually become, for me, like a really good yardstick for up-and-coming talent. And for me, the anomaly is the fact that Raikkonen is not the up-and-coming talent.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
And the problem is that... So, Merrickson, for me, makes way more sense when you've got Giovinazzi alongside, not Kimi, or you have whoever else they want to bring into the fray from a Ferrari perspective. It's almost like the shoe's on the other foot. And then actually now, with Kimi in the car, does that now basically show how good Mr. Guns is? But then...
Yeah, the gun show.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. The other place I could see Marcus going to also is Williams.
I keep having this vision of him popping up in a Williams.
It was you that gave me the
But I don't
vision.
actually know if it'll happen.
I don't think it will. I think it will be a second choice because obviously Marcus has got his investors in at Sauber, which obviously helps him out regardless of what he says. But yeah, I'm not sure. It'd be a shame to see him go because I like the fact that he is basically our Pedro Diniz of the modern era. And,
yes.
And I need something like that. And again, throughout all of these conversations, there seems to be a running thread of there aren't the seats. But for me, 3-car teams aren't the answer. It's more teams being the answer.
No, I completely agree. And I think to expand on your Pedro Diniz analogy there, I think the reason we derive so much joy from that is that for other drivers, you don't get that kind of, I suppose, sense of fun from following them, right? Because let's say Gasly goes out and does really well. Well, then you'd say, well, yeah, well, he's supposed to be doing well. He's the next big thing. If Grosjean goes out and bins it, it's like, well, quelle fucking surprise. You know, that's what he does. And if Grosjean has a good race, you kind of still don't view it as well. Whereas when you've got a driver like Merrickson, and I think to some extent Hulkenberg earlier in his career fulfilled this role, even though he always had a bit more long-term promise. There's, you know, these drivers that do sort of a solid, respectable job most of the time, and then when they deliver an unexpectedly good result, you feel more impressed by it. You take more enjoyment from watching it. Like, for me, seeing Marcus Ericsson bring the car home in the points is way more enjoyable than seeing, you know, maybe Alonso wrestling a McLaren into the points. Just because somehow it seems far less expected.
Yeah.
But when it happens, it doesn't feel like it's not deserved. Because that's the other thing as well, right? When you get someone like Verstappen who picks up, you know, win on his debut, and you kind of get the feeling, no, I just built up a lead.
Boo, Sirotkin's retired. I didn't see what had happened though. He's got all his wheels.
I've got a new strategy. Pit now?
Oh, same.
Might as well, right, under a safety car.
Drive-through penalty, speeding under the safety car. Oh, Simon.
Not your race today, is it, mate?
I've got two. How?
Oh, is that a bug? It did
No,
that
no,
to me.
it was no, it's me. I was looking at the wrong bit of the screen. Sorry. I was like, why is it counting down?
I'm glad I listened to Jeff, because Vettel's coming from behind me as well.
Oh well. Well, I'll be plumb last because I've got two drive-throughs, but never mind. You need to get the win for me.
I will do my best, mate. Although I can't help but feel that early pit stop is gonna... Why have I got one stop left? It was a one-stop strategy, Jeff. How does that even begin to make sense? Wow, we built up quite a lead because I've come out third.
Yeah,
on lap 8.
There was a massive... Something had gone on because Stroll is going like about 5 seconds slower than everyone else, but not pitting. And someone else, like I think there was an Alonso, I think was holding up a massive selection of cars all behind because I was catching them all. I'd caught back up to the midfield despite having a pit stop. Now it will be ruined because obviously drive-through gate, but...
I have to be very careful now not to lose places under the safety car because it's happened 3 times now that I drive slow so as not to run into the back of someone inadvertently in the mist, and then my car ghosts and the cars behind me are allowed to overtake me and keep the position under the safety car.
I've had that.
Has that happened to you as well?
Yeah, yeah. Fucking annoying.
I realised we could have avoided it by turning ghosting off, but sometimes ghosting saves us, so...
Yeah. Have a proper Perez day. Well,
There's a McLaren in 5th, sorry.
Van Dorn didn't pit, but he was my next target, so it can't be him, surely. But he didn't pit.
Right, please pit now, Bottas and Raikkonen. That would be so helpful to me. You have no idea just how helpful that would be. Bastards. Bastards! Well, hold on. Why does it make sense for me and Vettel to pit, but not you?
Maybe they're easier on their tyres.
Maybe, but apparently I still have a stop to make. Full race update.
Which would make sense.
Yeah, apparently I'm pitting again in 8 laps time, which doesn't feel right somehow.
That feels like they've just slotted in your original stop where it was before. You could probably go to about lap 20.
I wasn't watching how my tyre wear was, so I don't really know how realistic it is for me to go to the end now, but I'd like to try. Problem is, now I've got 2 slower cars in front of me and they're running nose to tail when we restart. That's all the key ingredients for an accident.
It was going so well. Damn
it was.
Sergey.
I really thought I could have got pole in the win here, but I feel that win slowly starting to depart.
I'll be getting naff. Oh.
And the familiar cold hand of the DNF fairy on my shoulders. A little bit of Formula E news before we get back to Formula 1, since this has been a bit of an interruption in play. So the new cars obviously look fantastic.
Yes, they do.
Virgin Racing have announced they're taking an Audi powertrain, which is quite interesting because you're already starting to see works outfits appear, and they were previously the DS, which is Citroen basically, works outfit. It seems really odd to me to have open wheel racing with Citroen involved for some reason. Strange that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like a few years ago there was a rumour that Hyundai were going to put together a Formula 1 engine before we switched to hybrids. And I was thinking, that doesn't sound right. It was either Hyundai, it could have been Daewoo.
Daihatsu, that'd be amazing.
Actually, a friend of mine here has got a tiny little Daihatsu, and it's phenomenal. He loves it. They just run forever. I thought the safety car would have come in by now.
Stroll's not caught up.
Oh, that's right. They wait.
But it should have come in that lap, in my opinion. Who cares about Stroll?
Weather report.
Ooh. Now, will it let me do my drive-through straight off, or do I have to cross the line and then do it the next lap round, I wonder?
Can you do your drive-through on the safety car?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
That Cody's might not have, bugged it?
I don't. It would probably disqualify me if I do it, so I'm like that. If I only had one, I'd give it a go, but because I've got 2, for some... because I was just being a greedy little fucker. Must have all the penalty points. Did you also see...
ambassador.
Did you also see the Formula E news of Albon signing as well?
Yeah, I did, but
I like Albon.
I don't know anything about him.
Front runner in Formula 2.
This is ridiculously slow, Bottas.
I've had to stop my car because it's that slow. I'm at 20 miles an hour now. Yay. Bottas.
My hand animation is doing this little shuffle where it keeps pressing the pit limiter button repeatedly.
This can't be good for my engine wear.
It's alright, they still for some reason haven't implemented it properly, have they, for online career?
Oh yeah, because it resets each time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Stroll's now just joined us.
Which you think they would have fixed by now, wouldn't you?
Oh, and he just drives straight into me. Fuck off. Right, into the pits.
Wow, did those two ever get off the line way quicker than me? You Finnish bastards. This was my race. It's my birthday. Let me through. Well, I blow streamers at you.
Drive-through 1 complete. Ish.
Oh shit. That's Vettel getting through.
Oh no.
I knew it. It's all going to shit.
It's going to be okay.
Need to keep my cool now because I'm starting to freak out. I need these points badly. Bigly. I need the points bigly. It's China. China are beating us all the time.
Oh, hero points. Ooh. That's not the racing line sign. It's all gone horribly wrong.
At some point, we should get back to hosting a podcast, I suppose.
We're okay. We've done all right so far. Yeah, so... No, I'm pleased that Alex Albon has joined Formula E because he was about to be a wasted talent in Formula 2. So
I was going to say, what's his junior record like?
He's a front runner in F2 and before that F3. Never really quite been on the championship side of stuff. But he's interesting because he's a British Thai person. It's a kind of like, you're never quite sure which... No.
I saw him announced under a Thai license. So
Yeah, he runs under a Thai license. So I done my drive-through penalty, didn't count.
What?
Fuck's sake.
Oh, Cody's.
In we come.
You might as well DNF at this point, mate.
I know, it's
Don't.
ridiculous.
Actually, don't. I've been seeing some amazing online bugs as well. Like the online, I loathe to say it's a mess, but there are some very real problems with it, particularly with matchmaking.
Did you see the video I stuck up very briefly about how they keep on putting people all in the same grid box and we're all just landing on top of each other until the race actually kicks off?
Yes, I did. Which I'd love to say I was surprised to see that, but let's be honest, I'm not. I've actually been watching videos as well by a YouTuber who's got quite a big following, actually. His videos are quite well edited, but he's been showing all the dirty driving that goes on and like the exploits people have found to get away with ramming people off without any consequences and stuff.
Oh, okay.
See some shocking driving. You really do.
I've had a few bits myself, but then I've caused some myself. But what I do find really annoying is so if I know that I've hit someone by mistake, I generally pull over and let them through. But what I don't like is when they then decide to stop and then ram me back. I'm just thinking that's ruining your race as well now. Come on.
Jeff, why are you offering me a new strategy now? Oh, Bottas. Stop cutting me off. You're slow. Confirm change. Fuck it, why not? Pitting a lap earlier now. But actually, I'm going to see what my tyre wear's like. 14%. That's not good.
It's not bad. When does it want you to pit?
It's 3 laps. I'm going to say no, actually. I'm not going to take this abuse anymore, Jeff. All the messages inviting me to put on dry tyres in wet weather and
keep current.
All that you are racing people who are 15 places behind you nonsense. I've had it with you, Jeff.
So it now seems to have accepted that I've done different pit stops. This is so confusing. Stupid fucking game. I love it, but my goodness.
Are we desyncing a little bit, perhaps? Could that be it? Could it be the desync fairy?
I don't think so. We've only had that once.
I got past Kimi. Now I just need to get past Bottas, who I am faster than. He just doesn't like to admit it. He's very sensitive.
Aww. Poor Bottas. If another AI would like to have some kind of drama for a second safety car just to bring me back in the game, that'd be nice.
The gap to the car ahead is 30.3 seconds.
See, I could get round him into turn 1, but then he just like comes straight across me and chops my nose, so...
Yeah, I never take anyone into turn 1. I always end up doing that like late around the corner because I have a completely different line to the AI, so it all goes horribly wrong. Hello F1 and YTK. Hope you're well.
Greetings, humans.
I'm sorry that you were watching me plodding around in last.
Okay, so back to the podcast now. I'm first again.
Hey.
So what else was in our news bag? There was quite a bit still to go over, as I recall. Oh, that was it. Ferrari brought they brought a new rear wing assembly, which apparently has been inspired, in quotation marks, by McLaren's design, which seems bizarre to both of us.
Yeah.
Really.
I get that sometimes other cars might have bits that you might want to nick, but the last car that I would touch on that grid, apart from maybe the Williams, would be that dang McLaren.
What I like, though, what tickles me, is the idea that maybe they can get it to work in a way McLaren can't. Like, I get the feeling Ferrari have looked at it and gone, "Oh, I see what you're trying to do there," and then go ahead and do it.
That would be really fascinating if that was the case, though, as well, because then it shows fundamentally that McLaren just is screwed.
Well, because, I mean, look at how well Toro Rosso managed to get a Honda power unit working.
Yeah.
And I really don't believe that between seasons, like, inherent problems just evaporated. It's simply that they were allowed to make the changes they always had planned to make, but McLaren wouldn't allow. So I would be curious now to see if this new rear wing package makes that Ferrari even stronger. I mean, I still consider it the best car on the grid, personally. I think they're just...
Yeah.
It's the drivers that are just throwing away all these points right now. For shame.
Yeah. For shower.
I am going to have to stop again.
I'm going to have to. My tyre's already at 40%.
I'm up to 23 on my front left. Driver behind. Let's see if they're stopping again. Yeah, you told me to get behind twice now, but you didn't tell me if they were stopping again.
I love how helpful.
Right,
Jeff
no more
is.
safe cars now, because I've built my gap up to the same level it was when it came out last time.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that ties into what we were saying before, right, about that's the reason Leclerc is now at Ferrari. It's just that they finally have the car that they've been wanting for about a decade or more, and the drivers just aren't extracting the best of it. Fastest lap, motherfucker!
Whoop, whoop.
Driver behind. Are they stopping again? Jeff.
Jeff, just be our friend. Jeff, plus.
Because normally he's supposed to say, isn't he, like, we think they've got one stop left.
Yeah. Normally does.
But I mean, to be honest, his tyres are the same age as mine, but I'm 2 seconds a lap faster than him, so I don't know if I'm just battering mine and he doesn't actually have to stop again.
Maybe, but at that rate you'll get back through again. In theory.
Who set the fastest lap there?
No one. I've still got it as you.
Our gap to the car
Right, I am going to pit this lap.
6
Okay.
seconds.
I don't know if that's smart or stupid, but I'm going to risk it for a biscuit, the proverbial biscuit.
Do it. Do it.
Now the cars behind me aren't coming in, but maybe come in next lap.
Oh, I'm due next lap as well, so...
And Hulkenberg didn't come in, neither did Verstappen. So I'm coming out at least 6th, possibly 7th. Or 8th. Yeah, I'm coming out into a battle between Sainz and Ricciardo. That sucks knackers. Full race update. I hate having to overtake in the wet. Can't they just get out of my way because I don't want to lose my wing? Like, this is something I've noticed in real Formula 1, right? If you're super way faster than the car in front, in real Formula 1 here,
Yeah.
they don't fight you
No.
because it ultimately affects their own race pace. But in this game, they fight you every single time. It's infuriating.
This game is super aggressive.
But I think they have to just to compensate with the difference between an AI and a human driver.
Yeah.
Okay, Ricardo is next. Turn the old engine up. Driver in front.
Excuse me.
Okay, gap ahead is 7.2 seconds.
I was hoping he'd pit, but that didn't happen. But oh, cool. They did pit in front of me though,
Hey.
so I'm now running de facto third, which
Nice.
may turn into first if Ricardo and the Hulk pit again. Shout out to Hulkenberg leading the race.
What do you make of Renault's mid-season slump?
I don't know. I kind of want to convince myself that it's because they're working super hard for next year.
That's what I'm hoping as well.
But
Because it's a bit worrying otherwise.
But here's something interesting on that, actually. Max Verstappen gave an interview to Autosport, and he said that Honda are far more willing to pour funding into Formula One than Renault ever were.
Go, go, go.
Now, obviously, that hasn't necessarily yielded results, but that concerns me a little bit, I suppose. I mean, I was really happy earlier this year when it was announced the Renault Formula One team had returned to profit.
Tyres now.
But maybe they should, you know, while they're still in this era of ascendancy and having so much raw potential, maybe they should be actually spending that money.
And not necessarily on a Ricardo figure. Because that was like
No, although
for me that was like a statement of intent of we're going places. But I don't necessarily expect a Ricardo budget to... I like that they've got Ricardo, but I'd like to have seen them, I guess, chip away, especially if there are scientists now saying that Force India may well yoink fourth place from them because their eyes on the ball for next year. I just don't want it to end up being a bit like oh god, Sauber BMW 2008. they got their target early on with a win, didn't they? And then they decided let's not go for the championship this year when Kubica's like in the lead of the championship. We'll go for next year, and then look at the state of that car, kind of thing. So always difficult.
Well, I mean, it is odd for me, right? Because part of me, I said at the time, if I was Ricciardo, that's where I would go. So I am glad that he's there, and I think it's good for Renault that he's there. But at the same time, I didn't really see anything wrong with the Sainz-Hulkenberg lineup.
No.
Like, that's a lineup I could have seen winning titles if they gave him the right car. It's just that, I mean, Sainz did have a bit of a slump this year, but I don't think that's a permanent state of affairs.
No.
What's your fuel?
I started off plus 5 laps. I'm now, but I've run mix free all the way, and I'm now at plus 0.7. So I've gone to mix 2.
I'm negative 0.02, and I too ran the whole Grand Prix pretty much in rich. So I'm switching down to lean for a bit now, since I'm so much faster than everyone else in the wet again. Do you know, it never makes sense to me how good I've been in the wet in these games since 2014, because I hate the wet, and you'd think that I'd be even worse at the game in the rain, but for some reason it just seems to click.
You also are way more kinder on your tyres in the wet. You just have a natural... Oh, hello Vettel.
Yeah, that's a cheeky little lap he's put in, but he's in third. He's got Raikkonen to get round before he gets to me.
No team leaders in this game.
Yeah. So, the question that we failed to answer last time out that I'd like to discuss again is, when do we think Big Daddy Stroll is finally going to move Sonny Boy over to Force India? Like, do we think they're actually going to see out the season with these lineups?
I think they will now.
Me too, actually.
I thought it would happen before Singapore, if it was going to happen at all.
There's not much of the season left, is there?
No, and I don't really know what you would massively gain. But
hello, Simon.
Where did that come from? I've got no fucking idea where that's come from. As in my battle to catch Stroll for last.
The kind of focus that only the fight for last can bestow upon a man.
This is such a fail cast. One of us is winning, one of us is last. So yeah, I'm a bit... I thought it'd happen for Singapore. The only thing that might now sway it is that if Daddy Stroll says, I can't have Perez and Ocon smashing into each other again, out you go, one of you.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think adding Stroll to that mix is going to help that problem.
No, I don't. But maybe he's going to try and do the whole, it's such a toxic atmosphere. That would be the only thing I could think of to get it in there. But
oh Christ, everything's a toxic atmosphere these days.
Everyone put out their best Britney Spears.
I mean, to be honest, if you look up and down the grid, I think most teams have an element of toxicity. I think the only teams right now where I would say things are going well and there's a good atmosphere inside the team is probably Sauber.
Yeah, everyone else has got like an element of misery, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, I would have said Renault up until recently. Because, you know, I don't know, I mean, that said, I think Red Bull are probably feeling quite good right now. The car seems to have found a turn of pace. The Ricciardo-Verstappen situation has been diffused by Ricciardo stepping away from the team.
And Verstappen's now
and
actually
also forgetting how
isn't
to race.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we've seen this before, haven't we? When someone does like a big leave, it's always followed by a bit of a shitty slump, because I remember when Ricciardo got signed from Toro Rosso to Red Bull.
Oh.
And that was around Singapore. And then I remember he went on like a spree of just smashing the car all the way through. And it's happened before with so many other things. It's almost like the deal is done, the relief comes off, and it either makes you drive really well or you just end up pinning it everywhere, one or the other.
Well, I think also we shouldn't underestimate the fact that he's been cut out a lot of the team meetings now.
Yeah.
And they're probably loath to sort of help him with his setup as much and give him new parts and things. So I'm just wondering really if that's part of it too. Like the team now don't have to pretend that they're not already throwing all their resources behind Max.
Great maneuver. You made it look easy.
That's true. That's true.
Full race update.
I'm not last anymore.
I don't think I'm going to beat your lap time, you know. I keep setting purple sector 1s and purple sector 3s, but my sector 2 has gone to shit.
I had 5 wings. I don't know if that helps with whatever wings you had.
I think I've got a little lower than that. God, this is a thirsty engine. It really is. Like, I go to lean and I build up like 0.17 laps of fuel, and I go to just standard, and by the time I come to the back straight, I'm already down.
I think that's a driving thing though, because I save fuel around this lap in general, but I lean on my tyres because I spend a lot of my time kind of turning off throttle into the corner harsher, and I think that's why I lose. I can't keep my tyres nearly as well, but then can run mix free maybe a bit longer.
I tell you what though, it's very rarely I have an ERS problem these days. There's only one race I think I've had that problem, because you and I have always been quite late breakers, and I think you benefit a little bit from that with ERS.
Yeah, that's true.
Particularly if you like harvesting, if you're in a lower level of deployment and stuff, and like having your ERS gauged, you get a bit of extra help with your braking, but also the harder and later you brake, the more energy you harvest.
Mm-hmm.
Driver behind. 9.7 seconds. I will take that.
Nice. Nice.
Is there any other news? I'm trying to think, to be honest. We've been much more concise in our opinion this
We
episode.
have. And we
We've been
generally
quite to the point. I think
seem to
it doesn't
agree
help
as
that we've been
well.
agreeing, which, you know, kind of, maybe one of us should develop like a unreasonably contrarian opinion. Like, you know, Lance Stroll's going to win the World Drivers' Championship next year. Well, actually, do you know what? We laugh, right? But remember at the start of his Formula 1 career, you and I were defending him, saying, well, his junior record was actually really good, and the car's just a bit crap.
Yeah.
Now we may actually see if we were right, because when he goes into that Force India, we may have to be prepared for seeing Lance Stroll tickle the podium.
It will be interesting because it will be the making of him, I think, because that Williams in 2017 had flashes of brilliance, and he was always very good at. I think what he's shown actually is he's a very good wet weather driver, a bit like yourself, sir.
Well, thanks.
Because every time it's a little bit of a sprinkle, he's out and about doing very, very well, which is interesting. I just feel like with Racing Point Force India, there is now no room to hide, because the 2017 Williams, even though it had flashes of the brilliance, it was up and down and all over the shop, and you saw that because Massa couldn't do much with it either for a lot of the season, even if Massa did absolutely trounce him, if not in points, in raw pace. But and with the car at the back of the grid, you can't really tell what's the driver, what's the car. But there will be no place to hide in Force India, and Perez is a known quantity, so that will be his real benchmark. And I know that Daddy will own the team, But on a political, like monetary side of things, Perez brings also a shit ton of sponsorship and a lot of clout with that team for what he'd done to keep it there. Oh, there's a yellow flag.
Yeah.
Someone's out.
No, that's true, actually. I mean, Perez has the love of the ground troops, as it were.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, though, now
Verstappen's out.
is... Good. Good. The interesting thing now, though, is that if Stroll moves to Racing Point, and he makes a Racing Point of doing quite well, but
Love it.
he'll never be credited for it. I mean,
No.
if he goes on to like have a Perez-style run at Force India, you know, like the annual podium and you know, just general high performance, it will always be the car and his money. It will never be him.
Yeah. Completely agree. People will have already decided that he's there because of his money and the bias in the team because Daddy owns. Bit of a poison chalice in a way. Because...
But also, I mean, would he really care, do you think? Because, I mean, I remember seeing an interview once with a football player, and this is like in the late 90s, and a stand-up comedian made a joke out of it eventually. But he'd been getting like abuse from the terraces. And one of these chants was something like, you're a cunt and your mum's a cunt too. And they put it to him, and he said, yeah, but you should see her house. And I thought, like, that is actually quite a good point. Like, he's still a millionaire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think it would care. And I think with Lance, he will know deep down the amount of talent that it still takes, and luck, obviously, in Formula One, if it does go particularly well, that it takes to have everything line up. And is it...
I mean, he's still a Formula One driver. He's still getting the results that he thinks that he wants, and he's still the heir to a multi-billion-dollar fortune. So, all in all, you have to say, pretty solid day, really.
Exactly, and he still has to deliver and perform. He can't like go into the car and be like tacky in a way and just be like, "Oh, today for breakfast I had burger," and just like loll it on home. Even then, you still have to be decent to do well and keep it in, because what won't happen will be that he'll be miles off the pace and everyone will be like, that is just horrifically terrible, because ultimately Formula One is still a business, and so he still needs to be respectable to be able to earn his place. So I don't really count it against him. And is it unfair? Unfair is the wrong word that I'm looking for, but wouldn't you try everything in your power to line up all of the dominoes so that you have the best chance at everything? And if that means Daddy coming in and buying it, I know we live in a world where Twitter would scream #white privilege all over the whole thing, but it's sport. Would you still do it? And I would probably still in my head be like, well, yeah, if someone can scratch my back, I'd still go for it.
Well, I mean, to be honest, any racing driver would, because they're inherently competitive people.
Yeah.
And being competitive naturally inclines one to taking a legitimate advantage where one can be conferred.
Mm-hmm. That was a very posh scientific sentence. Impressive.
Thanks. It's the beer. It's making me very debonair and cultured.
It's your new age. You've entered a period of enlightenment.
Exactly, this new age of maturity where I've got wavy hair and go to kite festivals. Also, the other day I ate brie and some baguette. So really, I am a class traitor.
Off to Camden Town with you, sir.
Well, do you know, there's a friend of mine here who comes from Sheffield. So, you know, Northerners together, but we often talk about the fact that we're both scared to go home now in case we inadvertently say ciao when we leave a shop. You know, and like I buy like organic chicken now, and I work in the tech scene, and I buy French cheese and stuff like that. Stuff that at home would get me roundly and deservedly mocked as some kind of fop.
You'd be locked in a mine for 2 weeks until you'd said sorry.
Exactly, you know, I'd be locked away with all the home counties Tories in a special northern concentration camp.
You can't leave this mine until you've punched her! Ah! But it's a miner, I don't fucking care! Eat your crusts. No! Yeah.
They make your hair go curly. That's not a good thing. I never understood why that's an offer. It's like, eat your crust, it'll make your hair go curly. You can tell that sentence was like devised in about 1850.
By gingers.
When maybe it was the fashion to have curly hair. It doesn't translate well.
So do you, as you have now hit your clearly your enlightenment prime at the ripe old age of mid-30s or early 30s? No, you still are early 30s. Do you have any words of wisdom for anyone?
Do you know, I am starting to develop some theories. The problem is they're all described as offensive. Because I was actually having this conversation with two colleagues, right? And I don't know, right? Maybe you can tell me if you have the same experience, right? But there's a lot of videos made by YouTubers, particularly the ones who are quite far on the right wing, saying that, like, you know, men are doing this MGTOW thing and going their own way, and they're not getting married because it's a con, it's a big con, and that, like, there's this shift in the balance of power between women, and like when, you know, women are young, they're at the most attractive and they're super picky, but as they get older, men start to have more of the power in dating, and so there's this new wave of, like, you know, men in their 30s now who are not settling down.
Right.
But the thing is, right, I see it in real life, because, like, the company I work for, it's mostly women I'm surrounded by, right? And almost all of them are in their early mid-30s now and single. And so I went to like a team lunch the other day, and this was like a big topic. They were all talking about how horrible dating is and how hard it is to find someone, and how there was two actually who last year were talking about freezing eggs. That's how serious it got.
Oh God.
Right? And I sort of like listened to their stories, and they were talking about like the guys they or their friends had been dating and how it wasn't working out. And I was thinking to myself, well, of course it's not working out. And I developed like a short list of some flags that I think mark people out as, yeah, that's not a good long-term prospect if you want to like have a normal life.
Okay.
And for me, one of them is people who modify their own cars, like obsessively. 'Cause, you know, my brother does it as well, right? And so I've met quite a few people from that scene. And you sort of think, they're the kind of people who, with as much love and respect for my brother as I can muster, who think like going to the Greyhound track is a nice date. And I know it's stereotyping, but I just think you can't. Oh, I stole your fastest lap with my last lap.
And I've got a puncture.
Oh, mate, it's really been a shitty day for you, hasn't it?
That's right. As someone who's dated someone who had a Fiat Coupe and treated it like a child, to the point where it was modified and we had to go and polish it together, not joking.
No.
Apparently that was a day activity that we could jointly polish. I've never been so bored off my tits in my life. I would agree with that.
So then I started thinking about other flags, right? Other things that would mark someone out, that if I was a woman, and knowing men as I do being one, that would just flag me off them, right? So I want to go down the list and see if you agree, and maybe chat has some input here. I know it's not F1 news, but we ran out of that like 20 minutes ago, and we've been half-arsing it ever since. Right. People who modify cars, that's the one. Oh, hold up. You've just been rammed. Oh no, I've just been rammed. I've been rammed on the cooldown lap by Raikkonen. Anyway, go on. So, people who modify their cars, like seriously modify their cars, not people with an interest, but people who like go to road shows about it, right? People who buy a motorcycle around the age of 35.
Okay.
People who gamble regularly, like people who gamble on football.
Right.
They've got an app on their phone, and like they do accumulator bets on their phone.
Yeah, my dad does that. And he's not really husband material, even if I say so myself.
People who wear a Henry Lloyd polo shirt to a nightclub.
That is so oddly specific. I love it.
Let me think of the other ones. Woo!
That looks like you if you was Mexican.
Yeah, that's why it was such a good pick, actually.
Well done, mate. Well done.
There's VJ.
Oh, they've not patched him out the game yet.
No. Do you know, it's bittersweet because by doing that, I have managed to simultaneously win and prove myself comprehensively wrong. Because I went so far as to say there's no chance of me joining that elite group of drivers who win on their birthday, but I have.
You have indeed.
By golly, well, I needed that. I desperately needed that because those 2 DNFs really hurt.
Yeah.
They really hurt, and now I'm back in the game, so I'm pleased about that. Honestly, I was been saying all day, because obviously I've been getting nice birthday messages and people have been saying, "Hey, let's go for a beer" or whatever. And I was like, "No, I'm doing the Failcast because I really enjoy doing the Failcast, so it's a good thing to do on my birthday, and also the weather's horrible outside." And I've been saying all day, like, I bet I will DNF again because I just don't like China. I never do very well there, but. Look at us now, sat third in the Constructors' Championship.
Looking good.
I'm just sorry, you had such a bad race. Particularly because you clearly had some pace.
Yeah, I was a bit wonky, but then my tyres would have exploded anyway. I wasn't even looking at the tyres wearing my third stint because I just genuinely thought I had enough. But they hit 70% and one of them blew. So that was that.
It's also, though, because you've been through the pit so many times, it's natural to think that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, looking at it, right, you lose about 18 seconds, 20 seconds for a pit stop, and you would have lost 15 seconds or so for a drive-through. You had 2 drive-throughs, right? So immediately knocking 30 seconds off your time, you would have been ahead of Stroll. Knocking an extra pit stop off or an early pit stop off, I think you would have been all right, you know.
I should have been, because I was 3 seconds behind Leclerc when I had my puncture. So
Yeah,
and
then
around
like
back end of the top 10, maybe ahead of Stoffel. How the fuck did Stoffel get a point?
I know this game's so broken. If my Carol Vorderman mode is serving me right, I think you probably would have ended up somewhere around where Alonso Sainz are. Yeah. Maybe even better if the race had gone differently, because you know how an early pit stop really messes you up.
Yeah.
Anyway, great success.
Indeed. Sip on that for your birthday treat, sir.
And another episode goes on to our tally. Do you know, I need to do a count of how many episodes we've done, because we must be getting close now to 200 episodes.
Christ.
We must be getting very close to 200 episodes.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's another podcast bites the dust. I'm going to go off now. I'm going to go eat my birthday meal and finish my birthday beer.
Birthday sirens.
Birthday sirens. Oh, sirens turn up at the last minute. Of course they do. And we are in Azerbaijan 2 weeks from now.
Oh, God. That's not going to go well, that one for me. But yeah, it'll be great fun. And of course, if you've got any questions or thoughts on F1, please do drop us a line. We are at Definitely Zero and at Satorimal on Twitter. That's where we have lots of chats with lots of different people. And of course, join us again in 2 weeks' time, 4 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. CET.
That's correct.
I can be Brexit me.
We've only been on the schedule for 18 months now.
I was in my head. I was like, do clocks move? But not then. So we're right. Cool. And
yeah, awesome.
Everyone, let's get pissed for the birthday boy. Take care all.
Thank you. Bye. Love you. Bye.